Okay, so first let me get into the AWS. I think we are doing with our so you guys are 31 or 32? I guess 31. Okay, so meanwhile, while it starts, so let's talk about the what you done in the last session. So please look into your books and tell me what we done. Yesterday there was no class as I was busy with the escalation calls. Okay, so we're done with the plugins concept, right? So plugins is super important for your journey of DevOps. So anything that you cannot answer in the plugins can be a great danger for your interview also. Okay. So in the plugins, we came to know how to install and how to remove and how to update and how to upload. I showed you how to upload also, and we worked on proxy also. So this is what we done with the plugins concept. Now today we'll focus on Jenkins projects creation. That is nothing but jobs creation. So that is our duty now. So let's get in. So refresh this dashboard. Okay, still initializing. I'm just refreshing this, guys. Still initializing. So meanwhile, while it does, I would like to just know that have you understood your last class now? Is it fair? You got it into your brains? Okay, good. Okay, so 2x2 checks are done. Our duty is to check mark this, copy this, right? And what we are trying to do, so we have to use MobiX term sessions RDP, put that and administrator and click OK. And it starts asking the password, guys. So the password is this. Okay. So I entered the password. So I logged in. Got it. I hope everybody sees the screen now. So go into the C drive, go into the Jenkins, and here just say git bash here and say. Now we are about to learn today on how to start the Jenkins on a different port number, guys. One of the options to start on Jenkins different port number. So we have to say Java hyphen jar. We know Jenkins.var. So this is what we typed so far. So if you're planning to start the Jenkins on a different port number, then we have to use a flag called HTTP. Okay. So HTTP P capital port is equal to HTTP. I guess hyphen I guess hyphen HTTP PORT is equal to 80. Let's say you can change any port number 8090. So by default it starts on port number 8080, but you can change this to 8090 or 9090, any number. So click on press enter. So it starts the Jenkins on a different port number. So once you start the Jenkins on a different port, I want you to copy this command, guys, which I have written here. So that says Java -jar Jenkins.var, and copy that. I want you to copy. So please copy this command, guys. So Java -jar Jenkins.var and put that. So this is how you need to give. So you can give the any port number. Even you can say 8085, it's up to you. So today we started on 8090 number. Now go there and open up your browser. I think here, right? So open up your browser now. And say local host. Instead of saying 8080, this time we'll say 8090. So that is a difference. So that's a fundamental difference, guys. So earlier we were saying 8080, now this time we'll say 8090 because we started on 8090 port number. Correct? And here the username Jenkins_admin and put that password and click on sign in. And I say never. Yeah. Now, today we'll focus on entirely on creating the projects, guys. So we'll know how to create a project and the things like that. So here to create the project, or if I'm saying we are creating a job, or if I'm saying that I'm creating a pipeline, okay. So it is a one and the same thing. So we have to say something called click on new item, guys. So that is what you need to do. So click on the new item and that is what we get, right? So in the new item, once you click on, the first thing here is you need to enter the job name. So whatever the project name or whatever the pipeline name or whatever the job name, project, whatever, all are alias. So you can give a name for it. So I'll say this is my understanding of underscore project. Correct? Underscore project. Got it? Yeah. Just give a minute, guys. My okay. So fine. The next underscore project. Then here you have a lot of choices. You can select freestyle, you can select pipeline. So these are the two major options that we generally use in a real time. And the rest of the options that you see, these are all fancy. We don't use much grid. Okay. Now coming to when you're going with a choice called freestyle project and pipeline. So first one you need to select when your intention is to create the project from start to the end. Okay, begin to the end. Got it? So that is what we need to focus on. Clear? So that is what we need to do, guys. Then the next we need to go ahead with a pipeline option only when your intention is to, got it? So already we have an existing project, and from the existing project, if you want to connect the output of one existing project, you want to connect to the other project, something like this case. So you have some A project or A pipeline, and you already have some B pipeline. So I want to combine A plus B and get my output. So this is one use case. Okay. This is one use case, and I get my output. Got it? Then let's say you already have an A project and you're trying to create a B. So, but the output of the B should be like it is dependent on A. You got it? So output of B is a dependent on A. So what I can configure is I'll club this A and B. So unless A is done, B should not happen. So that is also a pipeline. So in simple words, if you talk in English, it's all about connecting one pipeline to the another. Connecting one pipeline to the other, or we are creating a relationship between the one project to the other project is pipeline concept. But pipeline is a bigger picture, so that we are going to talk in a separate session, guys. So at this point of time, I'll assume we'll go with freestyle project. So select the freestyle and then click OK. Now on left hand side, how many options do you see it, guys? Please confirm. On left hand side, how many options do you see? 6. Right? I want you to make a note of this 6 case. So first one is general. Second one is source code management. Please make a note of this because this is where the entire story lies. 6 options, that is nothing but 6 tabs. If you click on general, you will have to fill up with general details. If you click on source code management, you need to fill. If you click on build triggers, you need to fill these details. If you click on build environment, you need to fill this detail. Build steps, this, and post build actions. Simple. You have 6 broad steps: general, source code management, build triggers, build environment, and build steps and post build actions. So these are the 6 broad steps that you have, so we can take care of. Got it? Okay, nice. Fine. So let's discuss about the general case. Got it? So under the general tab, so we have an options called, and keep in mind, guys, whatever the 6 tabs that you see, if you are able to understand all the 6 tabs very well, what are the options, you're almost like 70% of your Jenkins, you got it. Or something like you have complete relaxed mode that, okay, I know this subject. Okay, so that is what. Now, under each tab, you will have a lot of options. So in each tab, you have a lot of options, guys. So every option is not mandatory for us to just go ahead and select and get it done. So every option that exists here, you need to know when to use it, when to not to use it. So that option is purely optional. So it does not mean that all the options you have to check. So first of all, those options are all optional. So we select them based on our requirement or demand. Okay, now first one is general. So under the general tab, you can write the description of this pipeline, or you can write the description of the project, or you can write the description of job that you are creating. Okay, so that's the use of description. And under this, you have some options like discard old builds, project, GitHub project is parameterized, throttle builds, execute concurrent builds if necessary. Now, what are this? See, beside each option, you have a question mark, guys. So if you click on this question mark, it can tell you what is this use of this project, guys. Understood? I mean to say, what is the use of this option? So if I click on this, it can tell you what is the use of this option. Correct? So that is what it is capable of, guys. So make a habit of reading. The reason is after you get your DevOps job, sir, you should have a habit of reading the things, guys. So you may get a new things that you have to handle, and they may drop an email or they may send you a document asking you to read, understand, and do it. So habit of reading the things once you click on the help button should be a habit from now onwards. Okay, that should be a habit even for any IT professional, guys. So if you do not understand once, please read it twice, thrice also. So reading couple of times slowly can help you to make you understand what is this option, what is this use of the option. If you are not able to figure it out, then I recommend you to start Googling. So that's the best thing if you're not aware. So definitely it will get some help. Clear? Now, if I'm talking about discard old builds, Jenkins takes the responsibility of tracking all the jobs that you've done in the Jenkins, or all the, I mean to say, whatever the builds happen to this particular project that you're trying to configure, it will save the data in memory. So that place we call it as console output. And what happens is, let's say, like your phone also, guys. Imagine you have the data of received calls, incoming and outgoing, right? So all this received calls or whatever is incoming, outgoing. So do you require the data even for, let's say, 3 months or 4 months? Tell me. Tell me, guys, is that required for you? So if you want to see the call history, you tell me how much data is more than sufficient. 15 days, 20 days, 1 month. What is the right number? Vishweshwar, what will be the right number? Vijay, Sushmita, Sravanti, Sravani. Generally, the most of the people normally 30 days. I feel 1 month of data is more than sufficient. Correct. So beyond that is not required. So likewise, also in most of the IT, it's a practice that any build happens. Generally, we remember up to 15 days to 1 month. That's a practice, guys. If I'm talking about my project, normally we keep the build history up to 1 month. But Jenkins is, if you want to configure that thing, you need to click on this. You can see discard old builds. It can remember how many days you wanna remember and how many builds you want to remember. So maximum you can configure up to 14 days, guys. So Jenkins is capable of remembering up to last 14 days data, or you can say 10, and maximum number of 50 builds. So I will say, please remember 30. So whichever is higher. So we are trying to configure that I just need the last 10 days and maximum up to 30 builds. That's it. So that is how we have to use this option. Beyond that, any data is there, it will delete. The next is GitHub project. So if you're trying to configure the pipeline, which is if the code is sitting in the GitHub, then you need to put a check mark and provide the link here. Now, one example here you need to understand. What if the project is sitting in GitLab and I don't see the option of GitLab here? What you guys will do in that case? So what will be your answer, guys? Tell me, guys, what will be your answer? Quick. So the question is, I see that it is showing the GitHub project. If I have the project in the GitHub, then technically I'll get the link and put it there. So that makes sense. So now the question comes is, what if I have the project sitting in GitLab? Tell me guys, quicker. So the simplest answer is, whatever the options that you're seeing under each tab here are coming because of plugin only. So and so plugin is installed already. That's the reason you see that options. So the clue is, if you don't see the GitLab, then go ahead and install the plugin. That's it. And you come back here, you'll find the GitLab option here. Am I clear, Shravani? And Sashul, Sanjay, Samir, have you got it, guys? Okay, simply remember, whatever the option that you're seeing under each tab, it's an implication of plugins on impact of plugin. So and so plugin is already installed. That's the reason. If you see any option is missing, so no panic. Just go ahead and search the plugin, install, and come back here. You'll find it. Okay. Then coming to the next question on project is parameterized. So what is this parameterized story? Okay. So first you need to know here what is parameterized. So let's say I'll write a small program and I want you to identify what is a parameterized and what is non-parameterized. Then you'll know. We'll come back. Okay, let's see, guys. There are two use cases. Imagine this is one use case, and imagine this is another use case. In this use case, I'll write a program saying int, or let's say a is equal to 10. Simple mathematical program, or you can say simple basic programs. B is equal to 20, right? Print, or let's say C is equal to A plus B, right? And I want to print C. Now, what is an expected output, guys, here? What is an expected output? It's in 30. Okay. Now I'll write another program. Same logic. Read A, read B. Okay. C is equal to A plus B. Print C value. And you tell me what is an expected output here? Can you determine the expected output? The answer is you cannot determine, because in this case, the program looks highly stable because we know the values. So this program, generally we call it as declaration of static. These are all static, or you can say already the values are declared. Or if I talk in Jenkins methodology, so this is called non-parameterized. So non-parameterized, guys. So at the time of execution, see, the output can be determined based on the execution. So at the time of execution, what happens is you have to enter the values. Then only you can determine the output. So, but here at the time of execution, we don't enter the values because already we given what should be the value in the program itself. Then it's simply calculated and giving the output. So that's the reason this is called non-parameterized and this is called parameterized. So likewise, in the Jenkins perspective, if you're talking about what is parameterized here, so at the time of execution of the Jenkins build process, it will try to read the parameter values, guys, at the time of execution only. Okay. So whether the code is parameterized or not, developer will tell you. So this is not our headache, guys, nor we are worried also. When somebody gives a code to you and asks you to create a pipeline, As a DevOps engineer, it is your responsibility to ask them whether this code, what you given to me from the repo, or I'm trying to create a pipeline. Please tell me whether you want me to create a parameterized or a non-parameterized. If they tell you that please create a parameterized, then ask the reverse question. Okay, what parameter you want? Boolean parameter, choice, credentials, file, password, run, sharing. Just ask them. So accordingly, whatever the information given by them to you, please fill up. That's it. Let's say if they told you that, okay, you need to create a string parameter, then ask them what is the name and what is the default value and description. So they will provide you these details, guys, not to be worried. So this is one such thing where DevOps is dependent on developer. So we have to ask them and get the details. So that's the parameterized. The next throttle builds. So throttle builds, one good example is, so let's say, maybe I'll write here. Okay. So let's say you are the parent of a child and is grown up. Okay. Some story to make you understand that option. And is asking you the bike, not group up, grown up. Na? Okay. Is grown up and is asking you the bike or a car, whatever it is. And you know that he may drive fast. What you will do to control him? As a parent, what are the options available with you to control that speed? Boys can answer this answer perfectly. Quick. Speed lock. Okay, Prithvi wants to scold. Okay, nice. Okay, Rahul says he will. Okay, Prithvi. Okay, Prithvi is right from his perspective. His father is to scold. That's okay. It's common. You know what my father done when I was saying? So he just kept a speed lock. Everybody knows, boys. Even girls also know these days, but they're also driving the vehicles. So the simple answer is to control the speed. So you take the vehicle to the mechanic and he will set up some speed limit. Even if you hit on the what is that? Accelerator, it will not move beyond certain speed. So speed is automatically controlled. So that means likewise here also, that means speed control some mechanism is speed lock. Exactly here, if you want to control the speed of the Jenkins or something like you want to happen the builds in a controlled fashion, then you have to use throttle builds. So this is a super important option in even in the real time case, because so let's say suddenly if I do 5 clicks, imagine on a build, if I do 5 clicks, what will happen? Tell me. Tell me guys, if the 5 clicks do, let's say build 5 times. So generally the processor will receive the 5 builds in a single core. The same build, 5 builds in a single core. So there are high chances that builds will crash. 5 jobs will automatically hit on the CPU and CPU gets overloaded and it freezes and Jenkins crashes. Ultimately machine crashes. So to overcome this headaches, Jenkins has given an option to control the builds case. So let's say one build, the gap between 2 successive builds should be 1 minute. You understood? You getting the point, guys? English, read the English, approximately a minute between the builds. So let's say you sent 2 builds to the Jenkins from the same project. What will happen? First build will go into the CPU and second build will go into the CPU after a 1 minute gap. So let's say we made it 5. What happens? First build will go into the Jenkins. Second build will wait in the queue and after 5 minutes only it will go into the CPU. Am I clear on this point? Samir? Sanjay, Rohini. Okay, so you need to keep in mind. So if the memory is getting overloaded from the same builds, so it's the best option to use this. Okay, you have to use this. Even there is a days option also, please don't try that. 1 year, 1 month, 1 week, 1 day. They have given these options. I don't know. Somebody might use, but practically in a real time, nobody has the talent to wait all these days. Generally, ideal recommendation is a gap of 30 seconds to 3 minutes should be a good choice. 30 seconds. So in my project, what I'm working, the gap between two successive builds is 30 seconds. We maintain 30 seconds gap. For some projects or some pipelines, we maintain 1 minute gap. So that is the throttle builds, guys. Next one is execute concurrent builds. So this is one of the areas of asking in the interviews. So one of the probable area of asking the interviews, guys. So what is this execute concurrent builds? So let me explain. So I'm assuming that I'll write it as execute concurrent builds, right? Can I rewrite this as execute parallel builds? Can I rewrite that English as execute parallel builds, guys? Does meaning change? I don't think meaning will change because English meaning of concurrent is nothing but parallel, right? So rewritten for your better understanding. So you need to know what happens if it is enabled, and you need to know what happens if it is not enabled. Enabled means you kept a check mark. Okay. And what happens if you're not enabled? So let's first understand not enabled. So if you do not put a check mark for that, what happens is, so let's say there is a project, somebody clicked on it. Okay. Somebody fired that project. Fired means activated. And it went into the CPU. Sorry, CPU. Went into the CPU. And it is getting executed. That means it is processing. Imagine it is getting processing, and it may take, let's assume, like 5 minutes of time, right? So in this 5 minutes, right, if somebody clicks on the B, somebody clicks on the B, and what happens is, this will not, A will not allow the B to share the CPU. The reason is, if B is trying to get into the CPU, it will not allow. The reason is, you told that A will go into the CPU and it is processing, and something like you need to understand, once A enters into the CPU, it will lock it. It will use entire CPU for its processing stuff, right? Or it is something like reserved room for it. And unless it is out, B cannot enter. So that is what happens when it is not enabled. Now what happens if it is enabled? Same example. So let's say A is getting processed in the CPU. And that means when somebody called B is trying to get into the CPU, it will allow. So this enable use case looks like a hostel where the person is ready to share his room. And this example, this side, it looks like a person who is sitting in the hostel or renting in a hostel, and he is not ready to share his room. That's it. For him, only one. Am I clear with this example case? Hostels is the best example. Single sharing, only one candidate, you only stay, nobody else, then that is not enabled. So when you're ready to share with your friends, your hostel, that means you are ready to share it. So sharing concept comes in when you put a check mark. Am I clear? Rahul, Prithvi, Bhagat, Pavan. Okay, nice. So that's all about the general case. Okay, general. Now you need to know this is all the question is super interesting here is if you talk about the experience stuff, if the project is highly critical, that pipeline is very critical, which option will you select, guys? Will you enable or disable? Simple question. This is what the questions revolve around the experience only. So we know the option by learning it. But now if you talk about experience, if the pipeline is critical, will you enable or will you not enable? I will not enable, guys. That's the answer. If the pipeline is of low criticality, low critical, then I will enable it. And when whichever the pipeline which is enabled, you need to understand that it will take more time to execute. Clear? This is the experience here. That is what you need to learn. So if you enable the execute parallel build process, it will take more time than an usual because along with it, some other guy is also traveling. CPU will be shared. That is the reason. And if it is non-critical, then you can enable it. Next question. If the pipeline needs, it has some critical data in it, will you enable or will you not enable, guys? In that pipeline, it is trying to access some critical data. Will you enable or will you not enable? Or they can ask you like this also. Pipeline needs to run in secured manner. And it contains some critical data. So what is your answer, guys? We should not enable. I will not enable. So definitely I will not enable. Please write these points into your notes. So that's all about the general tab, guys. So if I put in summary, you have description, you have old builds, you have parameterized GitHub project, throttle builds, execute concurrent builds. And every option is here that you see on the screen is an impact of plugins only. These are all default plugins. That's the reason we need to know those options. The next tab is source code management. So this was the interestingly, this was one of the questions that I faced in the interview when I joined my current organization. So one of the most easiest question being as a trainer for me. So they asked me, where do you tag or where you link the code in the Jenkins? That was super easy question for me. So source code management tab, here we link the code. So let's say you can say like you have to tell where your code or what version of control system you're using. Let's imagine you're using Git. Okay, I'll put a check mark for Git. And you have to tell the repository URL and provide the credentials. Make sense? If the repository URL is sitting in the GitHub, provide that link there and provide your GitHub credentials. If your repository is sitting somewhere in the GitLab, provide that link there and credentials. So that is what you have to do, right? So all these options will try to practice when you're doing a project work guys on this, because we have a project work in the gen, but you need to know the option. That's it. Now, one question here. So let's say I'm using in my project, I'm not using Git. So there is another brand called SVN, or there is another brand called TFS. I don't see that option. What I need to do? So whatever the plugin that you require, just search in the plugins manager and install it. Simple, install the plugin. So that's the source code management. Or if I talk in a non-technical style, what is the source code? So this is the place for the Jenkins. You have to tell where the code is sitting, because Jenkins, what it does, what is the purpose of the Jenkins? It will get the code, does the build process, and then further. So the first thing is you have to tell the where the code is. So where concept is nothing but this source code management. The next is build triggers. So this is the next one, guys. So this is build triggers. So coming to the build triggers here, you have 5 options. Now, what is a trigger? What is a trigger, guys? So it looks like our famous example of gun only. So bullets are loaded. They ask you to trigger, correct? So bullets are loaded. Only when you trigger, it will fire, right? Simple English meaning. So you told the Jenkins where the code is, but it should know when to get the code. You told where the code is sitting under the source code management. But build triggers will is talking about the time concept there. Time, at what time you should hit or go for build process. So that is nothing but build triggers. So whatever the option that you see under the build triggers are useful in implementing the automation. That is most interesting point here. Exactly, the build triggers of the Jenkins helps you to implement automation. If you're not using build triggers, imagine reverse now. If you're not enabling any one of the build trigger here, then you need to arrange one candidate in the office who is always logged into the Jenkins, and you need to keep on call him and tell please manually run that project, or you need to message him or email him or call him, whatever it is. So that means the concept is running on manual stuff. Now, if you set up the trigger, what happens is, even if you are there at the seat of the or near to computer or not, whatever the time that you told, it does it. So trigger is entirely automation. Now, first option, trigger builds remotely. Does it make sense, guys? English meaning? English meaning, what is that? Trigger builds remotely. So this option helps you to generate a web link. Okay, simple. Keep it simple. Let's keep it simple. So this option helps you to generate a web link, guys. Web link, a kind of a URL. And that URL, you have to share it your team members or your project team members, whoever is in the loop for this project, okay? Or whoever is interested in this project to get the build done. So using that web link, if that candidate puts in his browser and presses enter, automatically the build will start here. So it is something like hitting the HTTP, and the Jenkins server receives the signal saying please go for build. Am I clear on this? Shankar, Nayak, Nagireddy. So first option helps you to generate a web link. That web link, you have to share it to your team members. Whoever clicks on that link, build will happen. These are simple 3 words. Web link, share, click. Build will happen. Got it? Next, build after other projects are built. So can I say that option, build after other projects are built, does it look like a kind of a pipeline? Can I say? So it's very common between people that, okay, you keep on telling only if you eat, I will eat. Right? It happens in our home, among the friends, correct? Among the lovable ones. What we say, okay, you first eat, then I will eat. So there you are creating a relationship of pipeline only, correct? So if you talk in Jenkins style, so after that build is done, I'll do this. So if that is the case, then you can mention the project name. So you can mention the project's name, projects to us. So let's say, imagine there is a A1 project and there is a B1 project. So what happens is after A1 is done, then B1 will start. After B1 is done, then let's assume this is a C, whatever your config, then C will happen. So you're trying to create a relationship here. A1, B1 and C1. The next, build periodically. This is interesting. Build periodically. So this is purely timing concept, guys. Timer, absolutely timer concept. Okay. So based on time. Now the question comes is, how do you write the time, guys? You think like, let's say, so let's say I want to happen the build at 8 o'clock tomorrow. Will you write like this? Or let's say, I want the build to happen at today 10 o'clock. Already it is at 9:41 now. Let's say I want to happen at 10 o'clock. Do you think if you write like this, it will happen? Tell me, guys. So it's not going to work in that style. The reason is there is a format of time to be written here. Now, how many of you are aware about the Linux concept? In Linux, there is a concept called cron tab. So is this concept done in your Linux classes? Tell me. I think recently when 6 o'clock batch started now. So how many of you are attending? See, there's a notice I forgot to tell you recently, just 2 or 3 days ago. I'm thinking 2 or 3 days ago, I feel that a new batch of Linux has started 6 p.m. in the evening. So those who are missing your Linux classes, please attend that batch. Already some 4 p.m. batch is going on. New one was started 6 p.m. Am I right? Okay, now those are super seniors in Linux or very good in the Linux knowledge. Please tell me the cron tab. So this is where how you will write your timing concept. So if you're not aware of cron tab, anyway, you will study in your Linux classes, but in simple, I'll tell you one thing. There is a website called cron tab. This will help you to reduce your stress factor. You can easily write it. We are not worried on. See, the first is minute value. Second is hour value. Third is day value. Fourth is month value. Day is week value. So I'll put like this. Please write it in your notes. This is required for you. Please write it in your notes, guys. First, we'll write minute value. Okay. Separated by space hour value. Separated by day of the month value. I'll put it as month. I'll put this as minute. I'll write full forms. That's far better. Minute, hour, month, then space. Is it month? No, day of the month. Okay. Or you can put it as, yeah, DOM, date of the month. That's far better. Date of the month. Then date, month of the year. This is far better. Minute, hour. Okay. And that is month of the. Far better is like this, guys. Anyway, we know DDMMYY, na? So minute, hour, date. Okay. Month. That is easy. Right? There is no year concept here. Okay. Forget about year. We cannot write year concept here. The last one is weekday. Weekday. So they have given some table, guys. Monday is a 1. Okay. Please write this. Tuesday is a 2. Wednesday is a 3. So Thursday is a 4. And Friday is a 5. They said Saturday is a 6. And Sunday is a 7. Keep in mind for Sunday they given 2 values. Sunday is represented by 7 or Sunday is represented by 0. Okay. So let's say I want to schedule that build should happen tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. How I would write 10:30. Let's take it 10:30 tomorrow. So if this was a question, then I would write like this. Okay. Minute is 30. 10:30 morning. That is AM I'm talking about. Okay. Then I'll say 10. Then what is tomorrow's date? What is tomorrow's date, guys? 02. Yes, we'll write like this. What is tomorrow's month? Month also you should be careful in writing in 2 digital format. First one means 01. February means 02. Okay. September means 09. December means 12. All in 2 digital format you need to write. So this is 02. Then what is tomorrow? What is tomorrow, guys? Thursday. So that means 4 you need to write here. That's it. So you just have to copy paste this and put it there. Or if I'm trying to write like this, even it's the same thing. So if you know how to write it, that's well and fine. Otherwise, use this crontab.guru site, guys. Here also I can try. So let's say 30, 10, 02, 02, 4. You saw? Each value should be separated by space, no commas. And same thing, whatever you just got it, you can just copy it and put it here. That's it. This is how you will set up the timers. Now let's say I want to give a question. Guys. So let's say I want to build to happen at evening, let's say 7:30 p.m. How will you write? Evening 7:30 p.m. So if it is evening 7:30 p.m., I feel that it should be written like this. Okay. Minute value is 30 only. Hour value is what? Let's say tomorrow 7:30 p.m. See, you have to express hour in 24 hours format always. In earlier example, we written in 10 because 10 means morning. If it is 19, what is at what time? Is it 7 a.m. or 7 p.m.? If I say 19, is it 7 a.m. or 7 p.m.? That's a 7 p.m. So I hope you got the answer. Yep, 19. Tomorrow 02. Month also 02. Date. Tomorrow is a Thursday. I'll put 4. Clear? So that is how you need to set up the trigger. Okay. The next GitHub hook trigger for GitHub. Okay, simple guys. This is called hookup setup actually. So I'll tell you what is this in simple words. So this request again, if you want to set up the daily, daily also you can set up. You need to set up the time. At what time you want? Say let's say I want okay, Anuja is asking me, let's say daily I want to set up. So let's say daily I want 2 o'clock. I'll put it as a 00 14. Rest of the values are 0 star and star. Make sense? Star means any month or any date, because third place is what guys? Any. Star means any date, any month. Correct? Okay, we kept more stars, huh? Nice. So this is how you need to write. Any date, any month, any weekday. It does not matter. So we are not giving any specific directions. It can be any. Got your answer, Anuja? If you want to be very specific, then you have to decide the values there. If okay, I hope. Yep. Now let's move on with this one. What is the next we are talking about? Okay, hookup. So what is this hookup story? On the repo, okay, or normally admin, only admin can do that, guys. So the person who are maintaining the repos, who is in the admin capacity, that guy will have the talent to set up the hookup. He can set up the hookups, guys. Get hookups, we call it as hookups. That is there in GitHub also. So those who want to know hookups more, just spend 5 minutes because it's a 5-minute knowledge only. So like we just went ahead and created some token now. So likewise in the repo, you need to go and create the set up the hookup. So once the hookup is ready, then we can set up. So what happens is when somebody pushes the code. So keep in mind, admin, if he confirms that he has done with the setup of hookups, then only this option will work. Otherwise, no. Okay. Then if somebody pushes the code into the repo, then automatically Jenkins will receive a signal asking it to go for build process. Am I clear? Understood now what I'm talking, guys? Maunika, Mayuri, Maninder. So if you push the code, Jenkins, let's say if you're pushing the code to the Jenkins, and Jenkins will automatically start the build process. So imagine the question comes is where you're pushing the code. So when the code is pushed to, let's say, imagine here the concept is GitHub. If somebody pushes the code into the GitHub and to that GitHub, definitely they'll push it to that repo only. If that repo has been already configured to go for hookups, then what happens? That hookup, whatever the link that is associated or the relation that is created with the project, so and so project in the Jenkins will go for build process. That's it. Then simple to understand. If somebody pushes the code into the repo, and that hookup, whatever they created admin, it will send a signal to the Jenkins saying, please do the build process. That means immediate action. So that is a hookup concept, guys. And the next last is poll SCM. Last is poll SCM. So this is also expressed in the form of timer. Timer only, timing concept only. Got it? Here also you need to write the time only. Here also you need to write the time only, but there is a small difference. So generally in the interviews, this is one of the popularly asked question, guys. What is the difference between build periodically and poll SCM? That is a very frequently asked question, guys. Okay, if you're talking about the timer concept there, whether it is build periodical or poll SCM, the way of writing the timing declaration is same. Got it? Now tomorrow we'll start focusing from here. I'll stop it here today, guys. I'm little tired today, a lot of work. Okay, so tomorrow we'll start focusing on difference between poll SCM and BP, build periodically. Okay, not blood pressure. It is build periodically. So we'll continue here, guys, from tomorrow. Any questions so far? So source code management, you're trying to tell, okay, where the code is sitting. See, Jenkins has to know now where the code is sitting. Okay, that is here. Otherwise, it will never know. So even if you set up here, let's say you enable this hookup reference is coming from here. That repo link direction, it receives the direction from here. So that is the story. Okay. Got it. I hope, Sushmita. Chalo guys, I will stop it here and we'll continue tomorrow as usual. Chalo, see you. Bye bye.